Hi everyone, this is Terry. This is part 2 of the reading pillow challenge, and I'll show you how I created my design. And I have a hoop on my machine, but it's an empty hoop, but I want to be able to show you a couple of things with the hoop on the machine. So the first thing I'm going to do is return and delete everything so we can reconstruct it from the beginning. And I'll choose OK. So I have to delete all the parts. Now, what you notice is inside the design page, I've selected my hoop. My hoop was a 9.5 by 14. Let's go to page 9 and select inches so you can see it and choose OK. And we'll go back into the settings and you see the 9.5 by 14. It's good for you to select the hoop size that you're going to use, because if you have a hoop that did not come with your machine, it's not going to appear up here at the top. This is a 5x7, a 4x4, a 5x7, a 9.5 by 9.5, and the 10 5/8 by 16. You will not see the 9.5 by 14. That hoop came with my dream machine. And the reason I chose that hoop is because when I film, I had to turn my machine sideways across the table. Otherwise, I have to remove the machine that's behind me to use the largest hoop. And I really didn't need to do it for this project. So the first thing I did is I went into Disney and I went into category 1 and I selected this little Pluto dog and chose set. Now I rotated it 90 degrees and I'm using my mouse, which I really like to use. And if you don't feel like you have it 90 degrees, go into edit, go to rotate, and you can see right now it's straight up 90 degrees. I'll move it up here. And I want it to be about this distance from the side, and I want to have some room on the top, and I'll explain why as we move along. And I'll choose OK. Now the next thing I did was choose add, and I chose the built-in fonts, font category 9, and I typed out reading with friends. So we'll go ahead and do that. So I chose the capital R. Now let's go to lowercase. And one thing you notice, I have the large font selected here. You can choose medium or small, but I chose the large font. So we'll use it. And if you type the wrong letter, all you have to do is choose delete. You can also back up, and this red mark, if it's before a letter and you press delete, it will delete that letter. I don't want to do that, so I'll just move back. And I want to type the word reading, and we'll press enter. Now I want to type with, and we'll press enter. And now I want to type friends. Okay, down here at the bottom you can adjust the spacing, but you can also adjust the position. So if you want this right justified, you can do that. If you want it left justified, you can, but I wanted mine centered. You can, like I said, you can adjust the spacing, but I like it the way it is, so I chose set. Now I want to rotate this, so I went to edit and I went to rotate and rotated it 90 degrees. Now I want to move this down, and I want to have it about equidistance from the size of the hoop. So we'll take our dog and move him up a little bit, and that looks pretty good. And we'll move this down just a little. My thought was I don't want this to fall over on the sides of the pillow or the bottom. Now, one of the things that we have is that trim up at the top, or if you use a contrasting fabric for the inside of your pocket, you're going to have about 1 inch of self-facing. So this is a good time for you to go on and turn on your grid. And let's look at the 1 inch grid, and let's make sure that we have plenty of space up here on the top. So 1 inch is about where my cursor is right now. So I can actually move all of this up. But what I want to do is to group it first. To group it, I'll select this icon down here on the bottom, and I'll select it. And now I can adjust this and move it up. And I want to make sure that I don't get close to my trim, or I can move it down a little bit if I feel like I was a little too aggressive. So I do want it closer to the top, because the bottom of the pillow, when it's sitting on its edge, you don't want your letters to roll over into the bottom. So we'll choose OK. Now what you want to do is, this is a good time to save this to memory, just so that if something happens and you mess it up, you'll at least have that saved to memory. You can always undo as well. We're going to create a stamp, and this stamp is the stamp we're going to use in my design center. Now what I wanted to do is I wanted to create this distance so that I did not have any stippling between my lettering. So I'm increasing it to the point that joins, and you'll notice that it's starting to join now. And once I'm satisfied with it, and I like the looks of that, we might do it just a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. Now we'll do select memory. This is saving it in my design center, and we'll choose OK. Now we want to choose add. And when we choose add, we want to go to my design center. And in my design center, we're going to recall that stamp. So let's go to the pattern here. And you can see I've done this a couple of times recording. And we'll go on and select it and choose OK. Now what I want to do is to create a boundary box around this so that I can do my stippling. Let's remove the grid so you can see that, and we'll choose OK. And now what I'll do is select a stamp shape. I'll choose the rectangle. I'll choose OK. And I want to make it large enough so that it's about 1 inch from the edge of the hoop, because I don't want it to be in the trim. Now I just made a mistake. That's okay. All I have to do is undo, and you can see it's selected again. So we'll go ahead and resize it by choosing size. And first of all, I'll increase it in length. And I want it to pretty much fill up the hoop in length. And then once we get it filling up the hoop in length, we'll increase it from the sides. Let's go ahead and pull our grid back so we can see it, and choose OK. And what I want to do is I want it to come up about to this line here. So what I need to do is stretch it out. Okay, I like that, and I'll choose OK. Now I want a no-sew line around this perimeter. I don't want any type of decorative stitch around it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and add a no-sew line around it. So to do that, all I have to do is I have to select the properties and choose the no-sew line and choose OK, then take the bucket and touch the outside. Now what I want to do is fill this with a decorative fill. So we'll go into the region fill, choose stippling. I'll choose blue so you can see it. Choose the bucket and pour it inside. Now what I'll do is choose next, and let's go back and turn off the grid first of all. So we'll turn that off, and then the next thing I want to do is go back to millimeters and choose OK. And now I want to change this to 2.5 millimeters and choose OK. And now I'll increase the size of my spacing, because I want this. Actually, I think I chose something around 8 millimeters. We'll choose OK. And this looks about like what I had, so I'm ready to go ahead and choose set. Now, one problem I may have is I may have this too large. This may be larger than what I originally had, and we'll find out. And if it is, I'll retrieve the design that I have, because what I did is I created a basting box. So we'll go on and choose set, and we'll go into embroidery. So here's our design. Now, the first thing I did is I recolored these letters, and to do that I selected reading, and with reading selected, what I want to do is to select the first letter, or which is the R, select the 3 spools of thread, and I wanted it to be a brown. All right, let's use the down arrow or move down, and what I'll do is I'll choose the next letters, and you can see they're all selected now because the 3 spools are selected. So anything I do, it's going to apply to everything. And now we'll move down to friends, and we'll make that brown as well. All right, we'll choose OK. All right, now the next thing we want to do is to go into embroidery. Now, in embroidery, I was telling you I added a basting box. So the basting box is right here, and you can see that it will be able to fit in with this pattern. Now what I want to do is to turn the projector on. And the reason I want this on is I want to see if this is going to line up with my material. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to turn my camera so you can see what it's projecting right now on my machine. I don't have any fabric in the hoop. So we'll turn the camera around and we'll zoom in so you can see it. And now you can see right here is the design. And actually, let's move a little bit closer in so you can see it. I'll tilt the camera down. And now you can definitely see it. So what you can do is you can move the projector box from the extreme corners, and you can project it onto your fabric. First of all, to see if you have everything lined up. By adding a basting box, this is one way that I see if I have things lined up. If your basting box is crooked on your hoop fabric and you know you have laid your fabric edge so that it's lined up, say, along here or along this edge here, then you know that what you need to do is, first of all, remove your basting threads and realign things. Let's go ahead and move it over to the other corner, and guess what? It hit my camera. Okay, so you can see it in the other corner where it's projected. You can move down to the bottom, so we'll move it all the way down to the bottom. And so now it's projecting the lower corner of the design. I don't know if you can see that because it's over the needle plate, but here you can see it. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and move it over to the other corner as well. And now you can see the design right here in the other corner. Now let's go back to the screen and let's talk about one other thing you can do. So we'll zoom back out, and let me get the camera situated again so it's straight and you can see the screen. The other thing that you can do is you can go into this function that's called trace. And what this does is it will let you see where your design is and where the needle is. So if we choose this corner here, and let me move the camera so you can see it, the needle is now in the position of where that corner is, and that's where that needle is going to be. Now I'll go down to the lower corner, and you can see where that is. Now we'll go to the lower left corner. You can see that, and now we'll go to the upper right, and I have to move the camera, and we'll go back to the center. All right, So that gives you an idea of how you can use that trace function, which works really well. We'll go ahead and choose OK to close that. And the other thing that you can do is you're going through and you're stitching this design out. You can make sure that everything is, first of all, lined up. You can project, and then the other thing that you can do is you can actually go into the thread order too if you want to see with your camera how it's going to project. Now I need to make sure that the presser foot is down, and we'll go in with the camera and you can see where your needle is. So that's another idea. I hope this video has helped you. If you have any questions about how to make the pillow, please post them on Facebook, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thanks for your time today.